morning and welcome back to Reaper Pro Tips with me, your host, Ann, Disembodied Hands, Quitty, Disembodied Beard, John, and everybody. Hi, Paint Fam. How y'all doing today? Boing. Kiki is already gone and sequestered herself in the bathroom back there, which is the cold tile floor. It's the coldest of cold tiled floors. She already knows it's going to be a hot one today. I have shut up the house in preparation. Alrighty, let us mix up some of our blackish, grayish neutral stuff. I need to adjust some things. One thing I need to adjust is the fact that I've got a proper orange here. Let's get this in focus. So I've got a proper orange here, but I don't have an orange here. This surface is closer to the light than this surface, so it should be that same level of orange. I probably need to maybe red out that a little more and orange out the top more, because the light source is going to be, it's going to lighten and brighten the surfaces closest to it. So we're going to need all of our stuff today. All of our stuff. Let me grab lantern, ultramarine. I think we were using heraldic or blood, I don't remember. One of those red things, probably heraldic. And then I need my russet brown. I think that's about what we got. So actually, if you look at it, we are actually painting with primary colors. Even if you include the magenta, we're painting with primary colors, right? So we've got our red, yellow, blue, and we've got white, and we've got, instead of black, we've got a brown, because we're mixing our black. The brown enables us to mix black, so it fills the role of that color. Yeah, it's James Gurney, guy who did Dinotopia. I was just going to mention him because he had a good post on his Substack yesterday about painting weathering stuff. And he talks about, like, the logical way, like he talks about the fact that brittle materials like masonry or cement will crack in lines perpendicular to the direction of expansion or bending, right? So when you're putting cracks in walls, you may do it out of your gut, like, because you're like, oh, they look like this. But in reality, you can do it possibly better if you know why you're doing it that way. So, like, the exertion of force. And the fact that the lines will go in the direction of bending or of expansion. Things like that. All right, let's just start by mixing our black. He talks a lot about 2D. It's focused to 2D art, Kodiak, but it's got things that will make you think a lot about your miniatures as well. Yeah, Scotties can be nasty, Cornico. One thing that I had never known about Scotties, but that I learned because I worked at a store where the owner was actually a breeder of Scotties, and she had to rehome her dogs when she had a baby. And she had told me that they had worried about it because Scotties have a reputation as not being good with children, which is something that, the negative things about a breeder, you never hear those. You always hear the positive things, right? Take it step by step, Kodiak. I mean, he's going to talk a lot about color before he talks about light, as I recall in that book anyway. It's back here behind me. But he does a great thing in that the way he teaches is every 2 pages is kind of a lesson. So you can just read the 2 pages, and look at the pictures closely and try to let it soak into your brain is what I would recommend. Think about, is there a way that I could use this on a miniature? Read the lesson, look at the pictures, say, if I was painting a miniature, could I use any of this? Some of it, if it's You know, like the backlighting stuff is interesting, but it's seldom useful. Like this guy is maybe the exception because we actually have done a little bit of backlighting on him. It's the only miniature I've done it on, but usually we're dealing with a model where the light is strongly on the front, right? This is our exception model where the light is more on the back. Yeah. Yeah, they apparently have a rep as not being good with children. I had never known that, but she bred them, so I assume she knew, and they tried when the baby was born, but the dogs really did not take to it, so they ended up rehoming. Yeah, usually Westies. Yeah, Westies are nice dogs. They have a good reputation. So I'm going to do a 50-50 mix of my ultramarine blue and my russet brown, which doesn't look like it should make a darker color, but it does. Part of that is because you're mixing complementary colors, which remember is one way to make neutrals. So mixing 50-50 of those two colors gives me my black, quote unquote. You can see that it is a slight blue, has a slight blue tint. And I need that for my, I've got to darken down part of the sword here. I need my red, because I'm going to be using it there. Then I need to use it up here to make the orange. Then I need my yellow. Yeah, I never was into the terrier breeds. My mom likes them. She really likes Airedales. Likes the look of them. Those are big dogs, and they would not, if they get another dog, which I'm not sure that they will. I think mom is fully happy being just a dog grandma, so she gets to watch my brother's dog when he and his family go on vacations. And now that they sold our house that we grew up in, and they only have they're part of a duplex, they don't have a yard, not a fenced one anyway, so yeah, how they are with kids is totally a barrier. Like, yep, Quindy, yep, there you go. There's always a terrier, yep. Cairn Terrier, yeah. Wow. Wow, Quindy. Well then, glad to see that what the breeder told me was actually true. I mean, I like having, backup information on that, but still, I'm sorry you had to get that. That's one of the reasons. There are many reasons. I thought I wanted to be a vet tech at one point, and then I was like, no. And I'm glad I noped out. Mostly I noped out because I didn't feel like I could deal with people wanting to put animals to sleep for dicey reasons, or having to cut into animals during surgery. Like, there was all sorts of reasons I chose not to be a veterinarian. But I think it was a good nope out for me. Yeah, you'd be surprised if you do have pups. If Nova passes everything, I'm trying to get Kiki's health testing all scheduled. But yeah, it's when you raise them from the time they're little beans, Kodiak, it can be hard. Like, I never had a problem because there's so much work. They're just, raising a litter is so much work. If you're doing it right? And so I was actually somewhat relieved. Although after the first litter, Kiri was just so sad when all of her puppies went away. And then when we kept Blazy out of the second litter, she was so happy that we kept a puppy. So even if you don't get like totally like stuck on your puppies, your dog might. Some dog moms don't care. They don't seem to care. Yeah, very mentally and physically taxing career, I bet, and emotionally. But yeah, so when you raise them from when they were little beans, then they're special. Although that's why I'm like, I don't think we're gonna get another dog, unless one of Kiki's is like the dog that I really want. All right, I'm gonna put some white in this yellow just out the gate because I know that my light source has a lot of white in it. Because if you look at the torch, it's got very little like true yellow in it. So I want to take this yellow and make it more the color of my light source. I probably started with way too much yellow here. I should have gone with only a couple of drops, but we'll do a 50-50. Yeah, right. Unlike cats, right? That's one thing I really loved about Kiri, though. Like, she was just like, I mean, I liked that she loved her puppies, and she loved to visit them. Like, when they visited after, she always loved it. She was so happy when Astra came to visit. She would like, know. Like, if I even said Astra's name in the course of a day, she'd know. She's like, and she'd run to the corner of the yard where the gate was and look whenever she went out. Because she was so happy when her daughter came. Oh, yeah, Thormel, yes. Yep. Yeah, and depending on how mouthy they are, there's also the scars and and they don't have full brain cells. They're like human kids. All right, so now we're going to mix up a bit of this yellow and orange, or yellow and red, and we're going to try to make a brighter orange like we had kind of here. And I want to get that color up here on the top of the head more. I feel like I can fade more toward this red as it's going away, but I need the top of the head here where the torch is going to be very strong. I need it much lighter and much oranger. Yeah, just like babysitting. Yep. Human podlings and kidlings plus puppies, they're very similar. I may have gone too white with that. So that's the problem with adding the white in, is that it tends to bleach out a little bit. So I'm going to put a little bit more yellow. It went more coral than orange, and then you have too much white. So I'm going to pop a little bit more. I have to kind of get a medium ground here. I went a little too saturated. Now I'm going to desaturate a little bit again. Now I think it's close. It's about right. Maybe a tiny bit more of the white. So I'm just kind of holding up my model and looking at it and looking at my color. And I think that's about right there. That's what I want on the top of this hood. Because you want to put the white in it a little bit because it's also light, right? But you also... Diva is 21. Wow. Well, old cats. They keep going. You're lucky to have her for that long. I always thought that mine would live longer than they did. So it's good to have the opposite. And if I decide that I'm not quite, because I'm looking at this, I'm like, it's it's orange, but it's not quite light enough. Pretty okay. It's gonna be a hot one today here. I'm calling her the Methuselah. Gonna be a hot one here, so I'm battening the hatches, and I'm gonna take off right after stream and walk the keekers. So I'm gonna put a little bit more of this white and yellow mix then. I signed up for a free webinar about starting running when you're over 50 from a person I was following on the YouTubes who specializes in that sort of thing. And the first webinar is tomorrow, so I'm excited. It's good timing because I'll be running that night. Hopefully they'll have some actionable tips that I haven't run into yet. Oh, nice, Thormel. Good. Alright, so now it's a little bit lighter. It's a little bit better. That's reading a bit more. I feel like I want it just a little lighter. So I'm going to grab a little bit of my yellow and orange and kind of mix them on top of my palette like I do. And since yellows tend to be very see-through, you can usually layer it okay. I can see a little bit of brushstroke there, so I'm going to grab a little bit and blend in that edge. I'll blend that over here. And now I've got all that orange. So now I'm going to add a little bit more orange to the sleeve. Hey Daffodweir, how's it going? I'm going to use yellow to get these little stitches. Go back a bit. So I've essentially taken that red down a little bit because the color is always going to be affected by what's around it, by the light source. So we're never going to get that pure rich red. We're going to get a very orangey red. I could probably get away with going a little bit more pure in my red as I move down into this fold here. So I'll bring in a little bit more red on the fold. Southern wild rice in a wetland. That's cool. Yeah, that's really cool, Thormel. Is it tasty? Are you permitted to harvest it? I'm just going to glaze a little bit, I think, of this red. Just got to thin it down enough. Only one plant, so you really wouldn't get too much, right? Well, that's cool. Yes, hopefully it spreads. Just going to bring a little bit more red in on the downside here. You can see where the shadow comes in. It's pretty cool. Yeah, I like wild rice. I used to eat it a lot more. Now I don't so much because carbies. Though it's got a lot of fiber, and it's not as high carb as like white rice. Alrighty, let's get this thing figured out. I need to mix up some gray, some of my off gray color, and really assess, because I think this purple's just a little bit too saturated. I think that's why it's reading weird to me. I don't like it as much, so I'm going to move some of my black over and throw some white in it, and maybe a little bit of red and see if I can highlight with a color that I like better. In the seed mix still. Should come back very fast. Oh, nice. Good. Excellent, excellent, Thormo. That's great news. I look forward to you seeing lots of tasty rice in the coming years. Tasty little rice plants. So just grabbing a little bit of our black, or quote-unquote black, that we mix. Sigh, shadow ribbon. You can live in your illusory world if you want. But reading that book about marathons and the women's marathon and how they had to fight, I finished it last night. Essentially, the end of the fight was actually getting the women's marathon added to the 1984 Olympics in Los Angeles. "40 years ago. And now there are more women than men running, like, in general, as far as the U.S. I'm okay with, like, figuring out how old I am. I'm kind of depending on it because I could never, like, envision myself as at all athletic or runnerly when I was younger. So now that I'm older, they'll grade me on a different scale. I will embrace. I'm always mildly jealous of the women in the checkout line ahead of me getting the senior discount. But I don't know. I have I think a pretty healthy attitude toward age. It's gonna happen. I'm just gonna try to get there as healthy as I can, and we'll see what goes. I'm gonna mix a little bit of my yellow into my blue-gray here because I want to build up a green just in case I need to deal with any other part of the model. Probably the sword, I'm gonna need it. So that's more the color of the actual light interacting with the ambient. I see. Oh yeah, for sure, because somebody would go out there and decide to pick it. Yeah, exactly. Mostly these days, I'm just concentrating on every day and trying to live more in the moment and less always worrying about the future. Alright, I need to figure out how to tackle this. So there is a little bit of light here that I've decided to put in. Technically it's very little, so I think I might minimize it. I'm gonna kind of go in and kind of put a little bit of a gray brush over this purple. I think that might be enough to tone it down. I just need it to really not be so bright. I think I'm gonna darken out the top. Really darken it out. Add in some black essentially. I have a doctor's appointment toward the end of this month after I get back from Indy. I think I'm going to ask her if I can do a DEXA scan, if she can hook me up, which is the one that measures your, like, bone, fat, muscle, everything, like your body composition. It's like the best body composition scan. So I know I've been losing inches but not pounds really, so I'm probably getting rid of fat and adding muscle, but that makes me curious as to where I stand now. And it might be a useful motivator to have the actual numbers. I think a lot of us do, Kodiak. It's like the wake-up call. You get all sober, you're like, whoa, if I want to like really be like doing cool stuff when I'm 70, I need to start now. Everybody can start, even if it's just a little. You can always do a little bit more than you did yesterday. Yesterday was actually my rest day. My first real rest day that I made myself not do any exercise at all. I didn't even do yoga because David went in and monopolized the TV room, which is where I do my yoga. The problem with him, starting a new TV show is he always wants to go in and like watch it at exactly the time that I want to go in and do exercise. So I'm gonna start booting him out. All right, we're gonna kind of use this blue gray to kind of mute out some of this orangey red. Because this is really me pushing artistic license to put this red there at all, I'm going to minimize it a lot. Yeah, CHP. My rest days are, oh yeah, your rest day is always today. Yes, Yeah, I can't do that anymore. I was not headed a good place. And I actually enjoy my training days. I mean, maybe that's the difference. I really like CrossFit, even if it's hard. And I'm enjoying the running as well. So I'm going to take some of my black here, guys, the mixed black that we mixed up, and I'm going to put that deep in these folds down really dark. Right. Yep, Carnico, yep. Yeah, that's one of the reasons I wanted to take up running, both because it's like probably still the best weight loss exercise I could do. And because like it means I have a hobby for the first time that's not sedentary, right? Everything else, the knitting, the painting, the cooking, although at least cooking I'm on my feet. Yeah, I figured you're joking. But yeah, I'm really happy with how strong and much more fit I am now than when I started just over a year ago. Now I just want to get as fit as I can get headed into this next part of my life. Yeah. That's alright. I feel like maybe a little bit more blue. I think I want to really blur that one out too. Just going to kind of glaze it, bring it down. You can always find something though, Shadow Raven. I know you used to be active. Try to find something. We'd like you to stick around for as long as we can. I don't want to lose any of you guys. I know I'm gonna eventually, but you know. Or you might lose me. Because you can never tell what's going to happen day to day. But I like us all hanging out the way we are. I appreciate those of you who have shared some of your own fitness journeys. Like Kodiak, doing great. So I'm just really toning this down now because I just don't want it to be Twisted Oma. They don't just autofill your prescription? Is it one of those things they have to check with your doctor before they do, and then they tell you it has to, they have to take an X amount of days to actually put the little pills in the bottle? Well, you also do a lot of, correct me if I'm wrong, but don't you do a lot of heavy work around the farm, Shadow Raven? Like, helping with, birthing of livestock is not exactly a low strength job. The response time on refills has really slowed down. Oh. Yeah. Just a little bit of heat there. Okay, I like it a little better now. It feels a little bit better to me. I think I want to put a little bit of this blue-gray color on the underside of this shield. I'm going to dim this down a little bit. Yeah, just at this point, Twistoma, you should just assume that you should order it 2 weeks before you need it. Because if their system is going to be that dumb, they're probably not going to fix it if what Inara says is true. So, alright, so now let's, I feel like that's better. So now I want to fix the front of this sword. Because I've just got too much light right here. I feel like, I guess it is actually there, but I'm gonna darken this area. It just feels like it's too light there. Oh yeah, I've heard that that's a problem. There we go, a little bit darker. Push the light out more toward the tip. I'm just using my yellow to glaze over this a little bit. And that makes it look a little bit better. I like that better. Oh yeah. That's why my old surgeon quit the hospital she was working at, is she was frustrated with them getting between her and her patients. It wasn't even that they couldn't assign people to answer the phones, it's just that they would prefer to just let the machine do it and make it another barrier to the patient actually being able to talk to the doctor. But I could go on and on about that crap, so I'll stop. I don't want to be a grouchy Gus right now. Nothing like U.S. healthcare to get me grouchy. That's actually, even my current doctor, though she's a bit better because she's a private practice. So it's a little easier to get to her. Even so, you're still going to be booking 4 months in advance for an appointment. So I had an appointment booked to look at something, And now it's like I don't think it's really a concern, but I'm going to keep that appointment, damn it. I'm just going to use it to like talk to her about all sorts of other stuff, like getting a DEXA scan or you know, the fitness stuff that I'm doing and set up my annual. Just going to use some pure white to hit those grooves down the middle of the sword. I'm going to redo it on the top and bottom of the sword. So actually the bottom looks pretty good. I'll redo it on the top because I added some yellow in there. There we go. Alright, sword okay, that's okay, did the hood. Just gonna glance around at other stuff to see if there's anything else. Yeah, stuff going wrong straight to the ER. Both good and bad. I'm going to grab, I think I want to put just a little bit of the pink glow here on the shirt. So I'm grabbing my runic glow. I'm going to do it in white first. I just need a little bit of highlight, not a lot. I just think I want to carry that pink just a little farther. So I'm doing a little tiny bit of like white highlight. It's very see-through. A bit of white highlight here. I don't want it to be very strong. I just want to be able to pick up the pink right there. Yeah, just a little bit of pink. That's a little better. Alright, that's good. I think I've nitpicked this enough. And then the true test. Maybe we'll do the screen. We'll do the screen. Oh, except it's like reflecty. Yeah, I wish I could make it more opaque. I need something black, but I don't have like too many things that are black around me. Maybe that box. 1 second. Come here, box. Wow, that overexposes him a lot. Yeah, so I feel like I need like something more white in the frame. There we go. Maybe. Yeah. So if you can get your camera to deal with it, taking a picture against a black background can give you a better feel. for whether your lighting effect is working, whether it looks right. I think it's pretty decent. I think I'm good with this. All right. Yeah, I think we've painted everything. It's all good. It's all done except for the basing. All right. Box back on the floor. And I think I just want to do simple basing on him. Ah, there's my bag of sculpting stuff. I was just wondering where I stuffed this earlier. Let's see here. Boop. I think he's got a wide base. Alright, now we gotta get this off. I almost wish he is on a base with a step, because I would kind of like to make him like going up a stair as if he's like, you know, climbing, but his feet are on the same level, so it's really not possible. Unless, now I really can't, because I can't drop that 1 foot, so I'm going to have to keep it. I'm going to look at actually doing a smaller base. Well, that's a privateer press base, not that it matters much. So this is a privateer press round, just because I had it sitting in my thing. I think this actually might be the right size for him. Yeah, better than that big one. If I clip it off, I can manage to... Yeah, this just has too much extra room. He's not that wide of a stance. And then the Reaper, I think, might be a little bit small. As Anne tries to find all of her bases. Yeah, the Reaper is smaller than the privateer press base. I need to order just some regular old bases. Regular old, these guys. Which I feel like I'm like almost out of them, since we use them so often during the stream. Last night when I didn't have anything to do, well, I didn't have any exercise, I like felt like at loose ends, like I wandered around, I read a lot instead of doing things that were productive, which is probably fine, you know. But it was just funny. I've got all these hobbies that I could have done, and instead my brain just totally tanked, and it was like, out of its exercise routine, it was like, what? Who? Huh? I was like, I'm going to sit here and read the rest of this book. I guess the small one works. The Reaper base does work. If I trim him. If it was small, Richard. Alright, my clippers, of course, are in the other room. 1 second while I find them. I edited 2.5 chapters yesterday on the book. It does take a while to go through and hit all those little grammar flags that the program throws up at me. It is really good for catching improper comma use. It's caught me a lot. I tend to overuse commas. Not too much meat grain users. Alrighty, I've got my clippers. We can clip the base around this guy. Oh, I should have grabbed my green stuff when I was in the other room. Crap. And I need to do my sticky note trick. Alrighty. Look. Press down so I can see the edge. Grab my knife. Yeah, well, I'm more chapters than that in. I just did 2.5 yesterday. I'm going to try to do 2 a day. But that may be, like, I'll have to work on it after I get back from exercising. Which is fine. That's not a bad time to work on it. Usually I'm tired enough that I sit and read, but sitting and editing is reading. It's just a little bit like working reading. But I really want to get it to you guys. And I want to get it off my plate, right? Once I have the edit, like my main edit done, then I can wait for your notes. And while I'm doing that, I'm free to like work on something else. Some people can work on more than one thing at once, but I find it very, very difficult to do that as far as my writing. It's like, I am going to commit to this book until this book is done, right? But once I've got it in the beta hands, I feel like I'm free enough then to take a few days or however long it takes you guys to get back to me. I can work on some other project, like figuring out the next thing I'm going to write. Which is looking like it might be the romantasy. It might be the werewolf paladin romance for Kuro. Because it's going to be fast. It's going to be a fast, fun book. And I feel like I'm still working on the magic system for the progression fantasy, which is, with progression fantasy, I feel like the magic system is the point, so you better get it right. Yeah, the werewolf paladin is going to be like, it'll be an adventure romance. Like it's gonna be a lot like what I already write. Like it's just gonna, like, a romance has the romantic plot line being first and foremost, but it doesn't mean it, fantasy romance especially, it doesn't mean it doesn't also have other plot lines. That's too much. So I always start clipping. If you're gonna clip this stuff, it'll shear, so you gotta be careful. So start clipping very little bits. If you go at it very gently, and you can always take like a notch out, which helps. And then you creep your way closer to the foot. Yeah, close to getting too hot, huh? The werewolf is also the paladin, yes. Yes, Kuro wanted a werewolf paladin. And I'm into that, so I'm all for it. I think that the love interest is going to be an alchemist. But I need to sit down and do a little bit more world building. The thing about the fantasy romances, is that I don't have to world build with quite the stringency that I do some of my other stuff, which makes it a little bit more fun, right? I can kind of discover the world as I go, as long as I can outline the magic system well enough that I can make judgment calls on how it would adapt or work or break. I should be okay. The rest is just writing about people. I'm trying to come up with a good set of titles for these. I want to do at least 3, I think. I think I'm going to enjoy it. I think I'm going to enjoy writing them because they're going to be fun. I get to explore my new world. A little bit of it, anyway. I'm going to start at very, very small town. It's going to feel like, if I do it right, it's going to feel like a D&D game, like, with a romantic plot line set in Hogsmeade. Like, that's what I want. I want the little town, the town outside of the Wizardly College, and I want that town to, like, that be my setting. So, like, it's a small town romance, except it's a small wizard college town romance. That's what I want. And I want it to feel like D&D, because I wanted there to be adventurers. I want there to be characters like that. I want there to be that type of setting where there needs to be people like adventurers to take on the weird crap that comes out of the outlying areas, and to get hired by wizards to do all sorts of things, right? Like, that's what I want. I want that feel. But I still want that cool little magical town feeling, too. So it's like, I just had to work it out a little bit more. And then I'll set a bunch of fun little stories there. And although it may start as a romance setting, there may be some digressions. I may need to also... All right, well, that's more than enough to fit on the base. I think I'm going to shave off the outside edges, though. I find it easier to use the green stuff if I've got the texture going right up to the edge. Slightly different kind of alchemist. D&D alchemists are more about explodies. She's not necessarily about explodies yet, but she may get there. In this town, alchemists create a bunch of the foundational, like, materials that the wizards use. Because, you have to go out and buy ingredients for your spells, right? So, alchemists are, like, essentially able to do, like, the work that wizards could probably do, but, they'd much rather be doing X, Y, or Z. Anyway, that's kind of the feel I want, so hopefully I can capture it. Like, perfectly ordinary people surrounded by, perfectly ordinary magically aware people surrounded by wizards. Trying to live their lives. Yeah, right. Oh yeah, alchemists can be min-max, sure. How's it going, Kaz? But yeah, so we'll see how it works. I might not write very good romances because I love adventure. I love adventure and personal development so much. But, building relationships is also personal development. And a lot of times the two help each other. So I feel like this is not an unattainable thing for me to write. A cat with explosives. What could go wrong? Yes. But yeah, I do have to work a little bit more on my magic system. Just a little. It still needs to be robust enough that I can, like, if I run into a corner, I can predict how it's going to work. I'm not into, like, the Brandon Sanderson magic system on this one, but it's not going to be as loose as the magic system in the Bear Kings either. Alrighty, so let's glue this guy down. Grab some green and start sculpting. Have time. I just don't want to get further behind on all these bases. Oh, and of course I left my glue in the other room. And my green stuff. Well, let's just go and get everything then. I'll be right back. No, you're fine, though. Still work with. What's the free Reaper model this month, guys? A little dragon. Alright, I'll have to look. Let's take a look. Ah, when your glasses are on you and you're like, oh. Oh. There's an axolotl adventurer. It's the dragon battle. But where's the baby? I don't see it. Anybody have a number? Oh, there it is. Thanks, Quindy. I knew you'd save me. Yeah. Hiss. Oh, eat a baby. Cute. So cute. Hey, Kevin sculpted it. He's adorable. I was just thinking I need to get some more green stuff soon. Oh, I was just looking at July releases for and I saw the axolotl. Axoloti. I'm just looking for stuff to see if there's stuff I want to order for the stream. We're chugging through these more simple models pretty fast. Hey there, Dogfather. How's it going? Ah, yes. The oh my god ReaperCon is coming and I haven't done enough like work and now I've got real life. Yeah, that sucks. Always happens. Let's stick down our little mini here. Give him a sec or two to set up and stick down. So I will be streaming this Saturday, I believe. Speaking of like ReaperCon, since I have to work on, I want to work on Jason's pugling. The pugling. We'll work more probably on the fur this week, or I might block in the leather and then do the fur, and see what colors I want for that stuff. Ah, they're for sale already. Yeah. That's funny, Zachariah. That's good, though. Well, that's not good that it broke and you had to repaint it. That's not good. I'll let this guy set a little more. So, the next model, speaking of simple models that we're just going to paint because I have them, I think we're going to do Rogue Guy. He's so simple, but I've had him forever. And actually, we'll clean his mold lines while I wait for that to dry so I can start the green. I'm thinking about what we can do to make him more interesting. Yeah, that's good. What's a good highlight for Harvest Brown? Orange Brown. Like, honestly, like 9201 is a very good highlight. If you want it to mute out more and not be as orange, use Burnt Orange 9111. But Harvest Brown is such a very orange brown that you almost always want to, unless you really want to mute it out, you almost always want to go up with something that's pretty saturated and fairly orange. Ah, a dwarf. Obviously something for Luca. Yeah, no problem, Koro. You could also just use Sunlight Orange or Sunrise Orange with like some Linen White or white mixed in, if you, in a pinch, if you don't have those colors. You know, it would be freehandy, except that he's a rogue. That's the problem with things like this. He's obviously trying to be stealthy, so why would he have a bunch of freehand all over his cloak? I really dislike freehand for freehand's sake. It has to fit the character. I was thinking about trying another James Gurney special on this model. And what he did... Here, let me find it. I think I saved it. Here. So, black and white sketch, but this is more interesting to me. So what he does is he starts with an ochre or an umber or whatever, and he does an entire undercoat with that. And then he paints the monochrome over the surface, and he leaves the yellow or the brown in warmer places or reflective places, depending on where he wants color. So it's like a noir almost, except it's like using an earth tone. So I thought about doing that with this guy. Like picking an earth color and base coating everything. And then starting to do the monochrome and figure out where to keep pretty much would probably end up doing the raw umber / burnt umber underpaint, and then adding in like more of a gray or a Payne's gray to do the overpaint. So I don't know. I this is a simple enough model that I feel like I could do it. I don't know how it would work on a miniature, but so this is one of those mold lines that we need Julie's tool for. So since this is a convex area, it's very hard to get a knife into or a file. So Julie's tool, though, should allow us to scrape gently at that mold line and scoop it out. I'm just going to call this tool the trough tool. And sure enough, guys, there it goes. Round of applause, please, for Julie Guthrie. Yeah, magic. Yeah, I thought about camo. But, oh, Julie made this. Let's got a steel gouger. It is like a linoleum like scoring tool or whatever. Like it's a wood gouger, except it's being used with a sharpened edge, so it's being used to scrape. But yeah, so I think that got it all. I'm just gonna scrape real lightly to make sure it did. Well, I mean, hypothetically, if his cloak is black and he's standing edge on to the person he's trying to assault, then the only way they could see him is by like light hitting his eyes or his face if he has fair skin. So light hitting the eyes and his cloak is overshadowing his face. So yeah, it is actually. I would say it is actually practically stealthy. But only if you're like in an alley, right? Where the person, the prey is only going to come at you from one direction. Then this is useful. By a wood gouger, yeah. I'm just very lightly scraping at the surface now with it to take out any grooves that I may have put in. Could also at this point use one of my little sanding thingies. Where's my sanding thingy? There it is. Sanding sponges, because that it can flex, so I can get that in here and smooth. Smooth that inner surface. Oh yeah, it looks very silly side on, but you're not worrying about that if you're trying to attack somebody from this angle. I agree. I gouged this a little bit. I need to take that edge out of there by scraping around it. Alright. The front is really clean. I got a big mold line over the hood here though. Big piece of flash too. But here, I can get my knife around it. Big piece of flash, just cut it right off. Hey there, Roger. But yeah, so what do you guys think? You just, you seem a little lackluster on this dude. I mean, the dude is very simple. I feel like I'm trying to, like, I want to use that technique, that underpainting technique, but I'm kind of tossing around in my head, like, the color I want. It should be a warm color, though, because blacks tend to go cooler. Gray tends to look cool, so using that warm yellow or brown underpaint could be. So maybe this is our, model to paint in, like, burnt umber, raw umber, and like Payne's Gray. I don't know if I actually have a Payne's Gray. I think I might have one from Scale Color. I always wanted to put one out, but I didn't get around to figuring out where it fit. Like a real one, not the old, you know, phthalo blue plus black, which is what all the companies use now. Yeah, but the problem with camo is that you don't see the back of the model necessarily. Like, the problem is I don't know what's in front of the model. Like you're not going to put a wall here, which would be the best place to show off camo, right? Like, if you were doing this in a diorama, you could, because then you could have him up against the wall, painted, right, and then have his victim coming through up here. But, yeah. But I find camo actually to be a very, other than in that, like, diorama type usage, camo is a hard thing to sell on this model if you're gonna paint the back. I suppose the back could just be dark. it's an interesting idea, Bennett, or Richard. And that would again say, let's do maybe a cool color, interesting color thing, where the cloak is very monochrome and the figure is more interesting. But I mean, we haven't done a monochrome or a duochrome figure on here. It's something that people used to give a lot of classes about. So I could see doing it that way. It would be interesting and fun. Because it's just going to be different. Yeah, for sure, Thormel. For me, I'm silly. It has to make sense to me in a story way. Like who the character is, what he's doing, or they're doing. Just trying to use my knife around here since files can kind of burr up the surface. Although I do feel like every once in a while I use the file, but I won't really use it. So like grab the file, and instead of really grinding down, I'll just skate it over the surface. Just try to take up a little bit of material. Sometimes I feel if there's a line, I can get the line rubbed out that way, and then I can take my knife back. Or my little sandy thing. The sandy thing can come in, and it's fine enough grit that it's not really going to make a napping on the surface. Well, I mean, this would be kind of a noir style, except with more interest. I mean, noir is just black and white, so if I paint this in black and white, maybe he's been at a fancy social. I don't know. I like the whole, like, doing a monochrome type of thing. Yeah, but noir is just like black and white except for your red accents, right? Like that's how you do it. Sadly, like if his knife was out and not like with the tip buried against the cape, it would be easier to do a noir with him because I could have some blood dripping down the edge of the blade. Or something cool like that. But I feel like not every figure works well as a noir paint job. I think it could be kind of fun to do that. To try that sepia tone gray overlay paint job. I could do some fun stuff with it. I think I can. I think I want to do it. It'll be fast. And I have some ideas about how it could look cool. Oof, these little mold lines. Just like getting in the way here. Yeah, it's up to you, Quantum. Like, it tends to bug me if I've got an artifact on my model when I'm trying to paint something, paint a texture or something over the top, and it kind of jars with the mold line. But you absolutely, especially if you're doing stuff for gaming, it doesn't really matter so much. I like, if I'm going to take mold lines off, I try to take them off for good. And there's quite an excessive amount on this guy up here. This mold line is for reals. Yeah, he's extremely moldy. He's got a serious line. I still find that a knife works the best on this stuff, though. But yeah, let's try that underpainting thing. I think that could be interesting. And I mean, since he's likely to be in the shadows anyway, having a limited color pattern that's rather monochrome works. Oof, that edge. Just not wanting to clean up very nicely. We still have a little bit of extra crap on the blade here. Oh yeah, the flat spot like that's not so much of a big deal. Although it depends too. Again, it depends on what level you're painting at, right? Obviously, for competition, I'm going to take every mold line off, and I'm going to make sure that I don't have any like big flat spots where I cut into the model. But then it depends, like, if it's just a model for me, I may not be as anal about taking off all the mold lines. I just need to get them good enough that I can put a paint job on it and not notice them. For me, it's about I don't want to notice the mold line. So if I can get it resolved enough, then I'm okay. There we go. Okay. That edge. But the edge is very trimmable. And a lot of times you can see I'm just rubbing it with my fingernail to just pull those little bits off. I have to look up my, ask my cover artist if she would do the covers for the Romantasy series. I know she stopped doing pure romance covers, so. I don't know if she is open or if I will have to find a new cover artist. like to keep my current cover artist because she charges about what I want to pay, and she's good. Yeah, my cover artist, Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's really good. I don't know if I showed you guys the cover for 3 Favors, did I? Maybe I didn't want to spoiler it this early. But I actually commissioned it a while ago, once I figured out what I was writing. It's a simple cover. It's kind of a relief to have all these covers already done. Like, I still would need to get her to do the paperback versions, and the hardcover versions, but those are, I have to have the full page count before I can do that. Okay. Well, good. If they love the covers, that's what I need. Like, that's why my books keep selling on Amazon, I'm sure. Like, it's passive advertising. I got lucky and found the cover artist that totally understood my genre and what I was going for and the feel that I wanted. And she did a great job. And continues to do a great job. Whether she gets sick of me when we're to, like, book 18 in the series, I don't know. But at that point, I probably want to rework the covers anyway. Usually every 5 years. 5 to 7 years. Although I don't know, I love these covers so much. And you never know, the problem with it, reworking it, is like, will it ever be as good as the first cover? Alrighty. Get that little notch out of there. A little bit of flash down there. I think we're good. I'm going to grab my little, I like my little sanding sponge. And again, just like using that to kind of take off some of the little nubbins and bits. Smooth stuff out just a little bit more. I think we're good. I've used up all my time that I could have used on green stuff, but that's okay. I'd rather have the super glue be dry, because my problem here is that the edge of the super glue here took a long time to dry. So we'll base him next time. We'll do our sculpting next time. But we got this guy all clean, so now I can wash him and get him ready for his cameo, his new appearance. And we'll figure out something fun to do. So thank you for tuning in, everybody. I guess I could, here, hold on. Do I have it? I don't know if I've got it saved in my photos. 1 second. Let me see. Normally I save my covers in photos. But I don't remember if I saved this one. Yeah, I think I did not save it for this one. Yep, yep. Oh well, I'll have to actually save it. Yep, thank you everybody. You almost got a cover reveal, but you didn't because I forgot to save it to my photos. Thank you so much. I'm gonna put away my little tools here just for quick before we end totally. But dude is ready to get his base sculpted next time, and then we can do extrapolate our lighting effect down onto the base. It will hit the base in places, and we'll have to work around that. But yeah, tomorrow for our Friday. Wow, is it Friday almost already? We finished Sophie, and the next model that I grabbed to replace Ms. Soph, although I still need to sign her, is Mr. Ottersmark. So we will start a new model tomorrow after we sign Sophie. Yeah, Crowley, have fun. And I still have a little bit of like prep work to do on him too, I can see. So yeah, we'll start him. Yeah, I'm pretty much just grabbing all the models that I've had, kind of piling up the ones that I didn't like as much as the ones I chose to work on first, right? I've got this pile of simpler or different models that I wasn't as into. And so we will start on Ottersmark Dude. And that should be interesting. Because I haven't looked at his, we'll have to talk a lot about colors because he's very busy. He's a very busy model. So we'll have to be careful on this one. All right, everybody, thank you so much. Quindy, thank you for modding as always. Kuro for being her right-hand woman as always as well. And I hope you all have a lovely day. I will see you tomorrow.